Greetings. Welcome back to Black Bear News, where we are discussing climate change, abrupt climate change, and things adjacent. And I don't know why everything feels like it's tilted to one side. I feel very tilty. Please remember to like the video. Please remember to make sure you're still subscribed. Real quickly, yes, YouTube is doing a lot of messing around. I'm hearing from a lot of people that their comments are disappearing, so I'm not deleting your comments. I've never deleted anybody's comment unless they were just unless it was somebody who was a repeat offender and they were just saying, just the same old nonsense that they were saying. But I just don't like to. I like to let everybody have a voice, so I don't really delete comments. If I have an issue with your comment, I'll take it up with you. But anyway, so yeah, people seem to have had a lot of issues with their comments getting deleted, and I'm sorry about that. That's just something YouTube is doing to make things interesting. The usual shenanigans are going on. They're, unsubscribing people. So make sure you're still subscribed. They're also playing with my view counts. I woke up yesterday morning, and the video I'd put up the night before had like 880 views, and then I refreshed my screen and it said 750 views. I was like, oh, okay. I just, disappeared 150 views. And they never really came back. So that's what they're doing. That's what they're up to. So whatever, just I don't really like to talk about it too much, but that's what's going on. I'm also at rockfin.com. All my videos are there. If you want to watch them there too. Or at least most of my videos are there. What was I going to say? Oh, let's start with, I wanted to start with some viewer commentary. This is from a Harley Canine. On the last video, limiting warming to 1.5 C is not only almost certainly not going to happen, it actually can't happen because we're already past it. Do something very simple to see how easy it is to prove this. Bring up Google, type pre-industrial in the search bar, click on the very first result that pops up. It's the frickin' dictionary's meaning of it. As you can see, the Industrial Revolution ended in 1850. The ending of something cannot be used as an example of being before it. Yet somewhere along the line, that's exactly what someone decided to do. The original start date for pre-industrial was 1750. Someone decided along the way just a few years ago, actually, that no, pre-industrial is 1850, not 1750. And amazingly, you can't even find any reference to 1750 anywhere anymore. Yet the dictionary tells us that the Industrial Revolution ended in 1850. So clearly, pre-industrial must be before that, right? Right. So clearly we're being lied to. When you measure the global warming, global average temp rise from the true pre-industrial date of 1750, we're already at 1.7 to 1.8 C warmer than pre-industrial. 1.5 C is long in the rearview mirror. Which, yeah. I continuously say that on this channel that many believe that we're above 1.5 C. Lots of indicators to that fact already. But you can believe what you want to believe, and that's kind of what people do. They believe what they want to believe to make them feel better, or make them feel optimistic, or make them feel like things aren't that bad, or whatever makes you sleep better at night. I don't know. The problem is that if we're actually already somewhere else, then we're actually already at somewhere else. And you should act accordingly. Also amazing, even though we all know we're warming rapidly, we've been mysteriously stuck at 1.1 degrees C warmer than pre-industrial for at least 5 years now. That's also an interesting fact. Some are even claiming we haven't even hit 1 degree warming yet. Again, the goalposts can be moved wherever you want them to be, in order to make whatever argument you're going to be making. We live in a post-truth world where, people can find something to back up their claim, whatever their claim is. C. Tony Heller, who never cites any sources in his videos anyway. So, I'm just going to tell you things, but I'm not going to tell you where I got them from or give you links so that you can see them yourself. So they're totally believable. Not even a reported 0.2 or 0.3 degree rise since 2015. So yeah, I mean, the last 5 years for sure have seen an increase in extreme weather anomalies, extreme temperatures, extreme Arctic warming, even more ice loss, and somehow we are still at 1.1, or we're hovering at 1. Funny that, he goes on to say, and even at that, it makes no difference because for those not in the know, 2C wasn't the original amount of warming to be considered catastrophic either. 1C was. A freaking economist decided that no, 2C warming is the number to avoid. All you scientists and your 1C nonsense. Amazingly enough, you can't find any reference to that either, avoiding 1C warming. The only person that I know references both things I just talked about is McPherson. Love him or hate him, those facts don't lie. He always brings up the actual references when he talks about it. So, cite your sources. Hopefully you're not citing yourself. If you're a scientist. I'm not saying that McPherson is doing that. But that's very true. I mean, we're all here in one way or another due to the work of Guy McPherson. So it's, give credit where credit is due. And let's also notice that, many other people are now writing papers and making videos and publishing articles basically saying the exact same things he's been saying for years and years. Another addition to let's go visit McCorkle's Corner. This is from yesterday. Marty McCorkle says, planning where to go when the climate change puts its foot down on the MPH is the big question. In the 1930s, during the buildup to World War II, one fellow exhaustively studied the potential places for rise of conflict and chose a remote location where the coming war seemed unlikely to invade. He chose the place he chose was a remote Pacific island, Ding, and there he bought a farm with the aim of self-reliance. Ding again. And the island's name? Guadalcanal. Ding yet again. No, scratch that last ding. That island ended up being the location and the name of a major World War II battle. I think between the Hitler and the Soviets, though my history is fuzzy. I've been following the progress of the easiest person to fool blogger as he prepares his soil for permaculture for collapse. More of in the economic flavor more than the climate one, though he keeps an eye on both collapses. He's in Canada, which gets him several dings. But I sometimes wonder whether this permaculture soil, would fit into a steamer trunk if his location doesn't win the climate change lottery. The problem with climate change is that it changes the climate. I sometimes imagine my own post-collapse potato farm with me in coveralls and straw hat climbing up the orchard trees to knock the potatoes from their branches and making my spud bounty into tater tots or dried mashed potato mix. I may have the details of potato farming totally wrong since I've only grown a ficus, barely. Where does one grow food when the climate changes radically and rain becomes gold? Hopefully when collapse-related famine converts supermarkets into relics, the trusty old 7-Eleven will still offer frozen burritos. Otherwise, I'll have to figure out an alternative to eating. If you see a collapse hitchhiking along the side of the road, avoid the temptation to stop and pick that collapse up. I've heard of collapses being total drips. Okay, my ficus just dropped another leaf, so I need to find the Elmer's glue to reattach it. Good luck getting to Green Acres, everybody. More good stuff from Marty McCorkle. So want to get into this article. It's already deep into this video already. But this is called The Dream That Humanity is Unable to Wake Up From. I'm sorry I do that scrolling thing kind of unconsciously. I know it's probably maybe dizzying a little bit. This is from George Sacroclides. I think I'm pronouncing his name right. Sacroclides. Or Sacroclides. I don't know. The alarm clock just isn't loud enough to wake us up from the dream, a planetary destruction that our brain is unable to register as real. How and why is this happening? The myth of human intelligence. Zen Buddhists often say something which at first may sound counterintuitive, but it is actually most profound. The mind is a prison. According to this concept, all of us become consumed by our thoughts, preoccupied by them to such an extent that we become hijacked, ceasing to pay attention to real events and stimuli from our outside physical environment. The real world becomes another version of the fake reality that exists in our head, as opposed to the one and only reality it should be, the place where real people live and die, and happy and tragic events occur. Events which, had we been awake, we could have had a personal influence on. Instead, we become bystanders in our own world, Earth. We become observers, treating the real world in the same way that we treat our inner constructed world, regarding it as a series of thoughts and images that come and go, whereas we used to be able to tell the video game apart from the real world. Everything is now a video game. This is the most dangerous form of intelligence that I think the Buddhists refer to. Every time we are preoccupied with our professional image, our personal identity, the past or the future, the result is the same. We are entering a world that only exists in our head. The inability to stay in the present and give it the importance that it deserves is the opposite of mindfulness. Living in the mind prison is increasingly the predominant way in which humans use their brain, the main way in which they exist. The consequences for us and the planet are beyond tragic unless we wake up from the dream. We surely risk sleeping throughout the movie all the way to the bitter end. Our own brains have made us dumb. Ironically, the advanced brain power of humans means that they are much more susceptible to the mind prison. Our brains have the ability to resist the real world and construct our own reality. We are much more capable than other species to override internal cues from our hormones and instincts, cues that are sometimes good to ignore, but which nevertheless are important. They are the source of much of our emotional intelligence and spiritual compass. Ignoring them completely is yet another way of shutting down our own ability to respond to the outside world. I hate to resort to sci-fi examples, but I think the cyborg race in Star Trek was a prophetic vision of what is happening to humanity today. Despite being more connected than ever with each other, they literally couldn't see in front of them. All manual controls have been completely disabled. They lived in their brains in one shared brain that decided for them. Their vision had atrophied because they didn't need it anymore. They had created their own vision of the world they wanted, which existed in their head. In one of the episodes, I remember that they had taken over Earth. As they didn't care about the physical world at all, they ended up completely trashing the planet. Is climate change a fake simulation? Yes, according to much of our brain. Although much has been said about the climate change deniers having a cognitive issue, the opposite could be argued. I believe that their brains are super efficient in constructing their own reality. Climate change denial and apathy are side effects of a type of intelligence that is not the type we need right now. Over the past 100 years, political propaganda, marketing, and advertising, and more recently the sophisticated and targeted digital media channels that have arisen have all tried to access our prison brain in order to monetize it. The result when it comes to climate change and the ecological collapse is that what used to be real has become a Hollywood movie that our prison brain falsely thinks it can turn off, or simply change the channel to Planet B. The specific way in which we increasingly consume media and news has played a big role in this. I'm going to add something to the idea that climate change deniers are efficient at constructing their own reality. It's actually that, there's a big part of it is that there is a big part of that problem that is due to the fact that people believe that they are being lied to, that they don't trust anything that they hear or see. They've grown distrustful of the entire, media news / science apparatus. They're so distrustful that they believe that everything is a lie, that, that we do live in a matrix and the matrix is concocted by, the elites, the globalists. And so everything that they put forth, everything that you see in media must be false or fake, which is a perversion of extreme ideology. That's the perversion on one side. There's another perversion of extreme ideology on the other side, which is believe everything the media says, which is also not true. So the truth is somewhere in the middle. And I have something to say about this article. I've already read this, but over the past 100 years, political propaganda, marketing, and advertising. I've already read this. In functional terms, news has merged with entertainment, meaning that our role as a media consumer is confined to bringing out the popcorn, to observing passively, as opposed to critiquing, debating, forming an opinion, and even taking action and responsibility in response to the news. False. I'm going to just say, right, unequivocally, yes, this is going on. But there's also a huge number of people, like you viewers who are watching this video, who seek the truth. And there's a whole alternative news apparatus going on that the elites and those in power are trying to squash, actively trying to squash, because they know that it's leading to changes in the way people think and view the world. So the way that people are thinking and viewing the world is actually, they're waking up. They're waking up to reality. And the powers that be are like, no, we can't have that. So let's play games. Let's tell everybody these are all conspiracy theorists. Yes, this is going on, but there's also quite a few people out there who are seeking the truth and are using the connectivity that he speaks of in positive ways. Sure, you may say, well, I'm not like that. I'm smart, educated, etc. But if you simply observe your behavior, you will notice this. You can be the smartest person in the world and still sink into mental habits, which are more powerful than any mental will. The ongoing destruction of the planet is nothing but a reality show that we are watching from a safe distance, live on our screens, sitting in our couches without any conscious sense of the significance of what we are watching. Absolutely true, I believe. Sorry. I'm just going to keep interjecting. Of the fact that structures of the planet that have been around for millions of years, like glaciers, ancient eucalyptus forests in Australia, the entire insect kingdom are being wiped out forever. Yeah, people are like, oh, that's bad. Anyways, got to go to Target. We know very well what we are seeing on the news. We are not stupid. Our brain simply does not register this information as real anymore because it has begun to uncouple itself from physical reality. Are we powerless or are we asleep? We became blind a long time ago. This was engineered to benefit capitalism and consumption. We often say that we feel powerless to act, which is very true, but I think part of the feeling of powerlessness is that we know very well that we are trapped in our zombie dream. Our role as a citizen was long ago reduced to simply observing, with the sole purpose of being exposed to product advertisements in between the news headlines. Our role is not to be an active member of society anymore because this would not suit the politicians. It would be an unwelcome distraction from bringing out the credit card to buy stuff advertised while we read the news. Being an active citizen is against the economic and political system that has brought this planet to its knees. Our role as information consumers is actually to be consumers, period, to feed the capitalist CO2 emitting machines that create the climate change which creates the news in the first place. Decades of this media zombification across the populations have made our strange passive relationship to news a permanent fixture of society and a fundamental element of how the world economy works. Our zombification means that we are not actually processing the images that are coming in from around the world as actual real events. They might as well be a movie or other form of entertainment. We are watching the world be destroyed, and our reaction is exactly the same as watching the movie Independence Day or similar. It's not real, and it will all pass when the movie is over. We need fewer zombies, more alarm clocks, as well as more alarmists. We don't need more news coverage. Many climate activists have continued to rate, well, how are alarmists supposed to get their message out? What news are you covering? News coverage, are you talking about just mainstream media? There are people covering the news outside of mainstream media. They're covering this stuff. And obviously they're all called alarmists too, but many climate activists have continued to raise the issue of lack of coverage in the news, but more coverage won't help by itself. It will lead to more hyper-normalization, more sleep, more conditioning and desensitization, and more complacency. The more images our brain is fed, whether real or fake, the more they get sucked into the black hole of the prison brain, becoming part of the fake hyper-reality. The prison brain gets stronger, not weaker. So the problem is much bigger. It is existential and social. It requires enacting laws on how news is aired and consumed. It requires re-educating people to debate, critique, to actually see and internalize the news that is playing on their screen where people and animals are dying in real time, to wake up from the dream. We are all too sick to do this ourselves. It will require a conscious awareness of the nasty game that the media, governments, and corporations have played on us. Our brain functions are fast becoming basic, to say the least. Reestablishing consciousness is the first step in leaving the mind prison. As with any muscle or organ of the body, the human brain needs regular exercise. Unfortunately, scrolling through social media, playing games on the smartphone, and reading opinions in the news without stopping to form our own opinion does not count as the best type of brain exercise. Escaping the mind prison will take conscious effort to understand the toxic relationship we have with information, our decreasing ability to interact with real humans in live debates, our separation from the physical and natural world. The conscious effort is difficult when most of us are actually unconscious. I found that to be an interesting article. What say you, dear viewers? I don't know. I think there are two things going on. There's a desensitization, since my mouth likes saying that word, to the news, and there's kind of this almost fetishization. I can't. You know what I'm trying to say? Fetishization of the news of climate change, where everybody's like, "Oh, I care about this. This is so bad." And and people are becoming more in tune with what this news is and what it means. What the actual plan is around doing anything about it, or what the actual reality is about what it is we need to do about it. I have yet to see, real discussions around that, but it's going to get there. It must get there soon. Obviously, I believe I just read an article the other day where the author said that, the way out was to basically destroy all consumer, the consumer production economy. And that's what it is. So, that, even though that sounds like, oh my God, so drastic, jobs, what are people going to buy? Oh my God, fashion, movies, sports, video games. We need all these distractions. Oh my God, what will we do without all these distractions? We might actually have to deal with the problem. We might actually have to live in a way that's totally different from the way we live now, and that's uncomfortable. More people need to talk about that. But I believe that the discussion is happening. The discussions are happening. They're ongoing. People are going, "Oh, I see. This is not." And even in the conspiracy world, even in the Trump realm, even in the right-wing or alt-right realm, or even in the Q realm, like people have woken up to the fact that we're not being told the truth, that that things are not what they seem, and in some ways that's a healthy thing. Kyle Kalinske just did a really good video, not just, but a few months ago he did a video about the fact that people who are online searching for, real answers to what is going on in the world, a lot of people got sucked into the right-wing alt-right Q hole. And they were all, climate deniers, and they believed all this stuff, and until they realized, wait a minute, hold on. Until they got to the point where they had ingested enough of this information to realize, hold on, I do want to form my own opinion. And they also were presented with facts and logic from the progressive left. And they were like, wait a minute, okay, so people, there are other people that also agree that we are being fed information that's not real. They're just processing it in a different way. So these people went from being, on the right or super alt-right or in a Q hole, and they saw some other information and decided, okay, the truth is somewhere over, the truth is somewhere over here. Maybe it's not all the way over here. Maybe it's over here. Maybe I can take in information from different places and make up my own mind about what that information is. The key and the trick is to stop, just consuming things from mainstream media, or to understanding that some media outlets that you think are progressive or different are not at all progressive or different, like PBS, Huffington Post. There are a lot. There are other BuzzFeed. Other online places where you get progressive news. I used to be a subscriber to what is that one? It's like a pseudo progressive news outlet. I can't remember the name. Anyways, full of establishment Democrat kind of like thought patterns and narratives, but they all were running around like they were progressive, and it was so frustrating. I had to unsubscribe because these people were so stupid. But the truth is out there, or different takes on the truth are out there. You can let media use you. You can let social media and alternative news or YouTube, or you can let all of these new technological outlets for information. You can let those things use you, or you can use those things for your own own betterment and your own education. You can have informed opinions, and you can find other people that have informed opinions, and on top of that, people are actually using these platforms to make a difference in government. I mean, the Justice Democrats were formed by Kyle Kalinske and Cenk Uygur at TYT, and they ended up being a force to getting like progressive lefties voted into government, to toppling establishment Democrat or right-wing seats in different districts, and bringing in people who could actually make a change. And that sentiment and that wave is growing. And that's what I mean. I think Harley Canine also brought this up yesterday in a comment that I live in some kind of left bubble. No, I live in an online left bubble, but there are lots of other people there. You guys are all here. You guys are all here with me, and there's lots of people in the Midwest who are here with you too. That have the internet in the Midwest. I don't know if you know that or not. There are lots of people out there that are hypnotized by the Trump thing, but there's a lot of people waking up to it too, and you just have to continue to fight the good fight and to spread the message. And this isn't a left coast bubble or an East Coast bubble. This is just people reaching out into other places because they have the technology to reach out into other places where they find like-minded people, and those like-minded people are starting to make a difference in how people actually carry out their agendas or their lives in the real world. So, anyways. Just to ramble. Lastly, in this video, this is a really, really long video. I'm sorry, guys. But we know that the Iraqi parliament called for the expelling of U.S. troops from the country, which is pretty wild considering that we've been there as a security force for years. We never really withdrew everything from Iraq. But Iraq has kind of, over the last few years has become a chaotic place. So they voted to expel U.S. troops following the drone attack on Qasem Soleimani. Interesting, I believe Proudhon. So Proudhon linked this, but this is not the only place that I've seen this. Actually, Nico House covered this. So this is the interesting news around this assassination is that apparently Soleimani was in Iraq. They were planning to have meetings, peace talks between Saudi Arabia, Iraq, and Iran, and they were trying to de-escalate all the tensions between these countries. So apparently Soleimani was there on a diplomatic mission. In this from Moon of Alabama, in this article, let me see if I can find it. Before the vote, Prime Minister Adil Abdul Mahdi told the parliament that he was scheduled to meet with Soleimani a day after his arrival to receive a letter from Iran to Iraq in response to a de-escalation offer Saudi Arabia had made. So the Prime Minister, so this, they're not covering this on mainstream news, or I haven't seen it. The prime minister said this is what was going on. So this isn't some kind of weird conspiracy theory. He told the parliament this before the vote was taken. So apparently there was some kind of peace agreement in the works, and we just completely, figuratively and literally blew it up. Assassinated Soleimani and destroyed the chance for peace in the region. Way to go, United States. This is kind of what we always do. Again, this is our forte. This is our expertise. Going into a region and destabilizing it and making it, places that were relatively peaceful and or prosperous and or trying to help, their own citizens, and going in it and completely destroying the peace, sending the places into chaos, so that we could gain control, extract resources, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's called, it's called many names, but this is just what we do. This is horrible news. If this is, if all this is true, I don't know how we would not believe that this is true. This is horrible. That's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for your eyes, your ears, and your conscience. If you would like to support this channel, you can do so at the links below. Until next time, peace.